This case takes place in Matamoros, Mexico, on the 9th of August, 2020. Lizabeth Flores was a 23-year-old woman who lived in Brownsville, Texas. Lizabeth had a boyfriend, and the couple had 2 young children together, one aged 4 and the other 8 months. On the 9th of August 2020, Lizabeth received a phone call. This call was coming from someone she was acquainted with, 39-year-old Braulio Martinez. Braulio had phoned Lizabeth for a chilling reason. He told her that her boyfriend had been kidnapped and that she needed to cross the United States-Mexican border and head to Matamoros as soon as possible. Despite having 2 children together, it's reported that Lizabeth's boyfriend lived in Matamoros, and the prospect of her boyfriend in danger filled Lizabeth with fear. So she set off and made her way to the border. Once reaching the border, Lizabeth crossed the Veterans International Bridge on foot. She then made a quick call to her mother, Maria. Lizabeth said that she needed to head into Mexico quickly to sort something out, and stated that she would be home later that very same night. Lizabeth made no reference to her mother about the kidnapping of her boyfriend and never went into any detail as to why she needed to go into Mexico. But her mother Maria didn't think anything of this, as of course her boyfriend lived across the border. Although Lizabeth didn't come home. As hours passed by, her mother Maria and her sister Carmen began to worry. They made a number of calls to Lizabeth, but there was no answer. They left numerous messages asking her to get in touch as soon as possible. They stayed up all night trying to call her, but there was no response. Once this failed, they began contacting those who knew Lizabeth. They messaged a number of friends, but no one else had heard anything from her. Lizabeth's sister Carmen had also messaged Braulio, as he was acquainted with the family. She asked him if he had seen her sister anywhere, but he too claimed to have had no contact with Lizabeth recently. After 24 hours passed, her family contacted the police. The police informed them that there was nothing they could do at the moment, but suggested filling in a missing person report. Another day passed, and still there was no word from Lizabeth. But then, on the 11th of August 2020, a body was found. On a grassy field, right next to a construction site where criminals were known to gather, Lizabeth's body was discovered. The police found her half naked, with every single one of her teeth missing. A large amount of the skin on her scalp had also been removed, and her head had been caved in by a large rock which was found next to where her body lay. Also, strangely enough, her skull was also found next to her body. Her family were informed of the devastating news, and a search to find who was responsible was soon underway. A post-mortem was conducted on Lizabeth's body, and the cause of death was ruled as blunt force trauma to the head. Upon closer inspection, the investigators were able to find a set of fingerprints. These fingerprints were then run through a database to see if they had any previous convictions, and a match came up. The prints were matched with Braulio. It turned out that Braulio had a very sick and disturbing past. He had served 4 years in prison from 2006 to 2010 after being found guilty of 2 counts of SA on a child. Police also checked the phone records and had seen that a phone call had been placed on Braulio's phone to Lizabeth. With these findings, the police were able to have a strong enough reason to arrest him, and on the 18th of August, 1 week after Lizabeth had gone missing, the police arrested Braulio at his home. He was questioned by the police and told them that he had lured Lizabeth away from her home by telling her that her boyfriend had been kidnapped. However, it's unclear if the boyfriend had even been kidnapped. It's reported that Braulio had done this in order to rob her of the ransom money she had brought to free her boyfriend. Once he was able to lure her to the location, he savagely attacked Lizabeth after a supposed robbery gone wrong. What exactly happened is still not disclosed, but the fact that every one of her teeth had been pulled out by force and that her scalp had been sliced off implies that she had been tortured before she was killed with the rock, and the fact that she was half naked implies that SA is highly probable, especially when his previous convictions are taken into account. The Mexican government offered to help return Lizabeth's body to the United States. However, a Texan funeral home stepped in to provide assistance instead, and she was returned to her family, and a GoFundMe was set up at the time to help cover the costs of the funeral. It's said that the Matamoros area where Lizabeth's body was found has been taken over by cartel groups and has resulted in a spike in serious crime. The police have accepted the murder as a robbery gone wrong. However, in my opinion, that albeit doesn't mean much, the murder seems to be somewhat personal. To pull out every single tooth and to scalp someone, at least to me, seems like something more than just a robbery gone wrong. When speaking about Lizabeth, Maria said, "Losing a child is like having your heart ripped out. I feel such sadness for what they did to my daughter and the way they left her. The pain that my daughter went through there, in that moment, that's what hurts. She was young, she had many things in front of her, and more because she had 2 children. I want what happened to my daughter done to them. Everyone that took part in her death, I want them to pay." The sister Carmen also took to Facebook to confirm that Braulio was the killer, stating, "He is a liar and a scoundrel who even texted me saying that he couldn't find Lizabeth anywhere, but he left enough evidence. This man is the culprit." I found this case some time ago, and I've waited for a year now for more information to come out, but sadly, nothing more has come to light. I'm not sure how fast things move in Mexico, or if the recent event has slowed down the processes, but surely more information should be available. I'm unsure if the boyfriend was involved in any way, and he has not been named, but what I find odd is that I imagine that upon hearing that her boyfriend had been kidnapped, Lizabeth would have likely tried to reach out to see if it was true. I'm unsure if she tried, and I'm unsure if the boyfriend was in on setting her up. The skull that was found next to Lizabeth's body also appeared to be a male skull. Some have speculated whether or not the skull belonged to Lizabeth's boyfriend. What I found confusing is that Lizabeth's mother has also said that she wants everyone who was responsible for the crime to be arrested. However, there is no information that is public to imply that anybody else was involved, and Braulio is the only one who has been arrested. It's reported that Braulio knew the couple and Lizabeth's family. However, again, it's not reported how they knew him. The strange amount of mystery surrounding this case and the lack of information is odd to say the least, and is something that I found to be intriguing. Right now, the motive is still ruled as a robbery, and as far as I can tell, Braulio has not yet gone to trial, and a trial date has not been set. Nobody else has been named in the crime, and who the skull belongs to is still a mystery. Hardly any coverage of this crime exists, which is incredibly sad. If anything further comes up in the future, I shall cover the rest on my other channel. A link to this channel will be pinned in the comments.